Mr. Bristow.
Hello.
How are you? I hope things are
Good,
going
thanks.
well with you.
Yes, very well, thank you.
And we are here yet again in the lovely
DJ room at Oarsman Road.
And I'm glad you guys are here with us because we have a new member of the family with all the lovely Pioneer DJ kit that we have here already. But this is the DJM-S11.
Yes, kind of update to the S9, which we've had for a while here in the DJ room.
Mm-hmm. The S9 has been 5 years?
I think it's about that, yeah.
So 5 years, five-year generational leap on the S11. And you can really tell that it looks very, very similar.
Yeah, it's very similar. Obviously, it's a bit longer. It's got very similar sort of buttons, but some of them are slightly bigger, like the pads.
And the screen?
Yeah, the screen is the major sort of addition, which is really cool.
I really think this layout is much better than the old one because on first glance, it's very similar. You know, you got your, what are these called?
Flicky switches.
Flicky switches. You got your flick switches here, exactly the same. All your pads, pretty much exactly the same. However, I love how they changed the pad mode from this, which I didn't like, to a more standardized feature, which you find underneath all the controls. Actually, we've got a this guy. Did you ever use one of these?
Yeah, we use those in the lessons. Yeah.
I love this thing. This is the what's it called again?
SP1, isn't it?
SP1. So this is a Serato controller they came out with, and they basically changed this so that the layout of the hot cue, roll, save loop, sample, and all that kind of stuff, basically exactly the same as this now.
Yeah.
And this is standardized across almost all of their controllers. So that's nice they brought along on this as well.
Yeah. Some of the secondary features you've got on those buttons, so when you press shift and press the button, they've added some new sort of features to this version of the mixer compared with the S9.
Yeah, like pitch play.
Yeah, that's really cool. This did have pitch play, so you could basically select a cue point and then press sampler twice to then allow you to play that cue point at different pitches. But it was almost like a hidden feature. It wasn't obviously there.
It wasn't labeled, but it's labeled here now.
Yeah.
And that's pretty straightforward. If you press pitch play, you can just change the pitch. And I go here.
Yeah.
And you can also change it here to go lower for the parameter settings.
Yeah.
Because each one of these has their own parameters. For example, if we go roll, for example, you can make the rolls longer or shorter of those parameter buttons.
Yeah.
And the mixer is longer because if you take a look at each channel strip now, they've conformed it to a normal DJM standard, which is just your filter at the bottom, trim at the top, EQs at the middle. That confused me.
Yeah, that is slightly weird because obviously you've got the trim to the left or right of the mid EQ. So anyone who's used to all the other Pioneer mixers where the trim is above the high EQ can throw you slightly because you go to use the gain and actually it's the high EQ. So it's a lot better now that it's in a vertical line like all the other Pioneer kit. And the screen as well has probably had a part to play in that. So it sort of takes up a bit more room, but it's pretty much the same width, I think. So
and they've also added some cool features into the back, right?
Yeah, so it's now got USB ports on the back where you can connect your CDJs directly into the mixer so that then you can connect the mixer to your computer with a USB and use them in HID mode rather than having to connect all to a hub and then to your computer or, CDJs directly into the computer. If you've got enough ports, you can sort of do it almost through the mixer now.
Kind of like how on the DJM-2000, it actually had a built-in link hub.
Yes, so that had 4 LAN ports, so you didn't need to use a LAN hub, yeah.
Aside from that, the front is pretty much exactly the same, but that's always been a really impressive thing about the S9.
Yep.
You've got the ability to change pretty much every curve. Every curve. You can change all of the upfader curves, and it wasn't just like a normal switch, like a smooth, mid, and then a cut switch that you'd find on a DJM-900. All these have individual knobs, so you can go as granular as you want, really.
Yeah. And obviously you can adjust the tension of the crossfader on both of these. So
I love that. I think that's what makes it the Magville Pro, actually.
Yeah. If you put it on light here, it's now really loose, whereas if I put it all the way to the right, it feels a lot more resistant now. So it depends. You might have been used to a particular mixer where the fader feels a bit different, so you can adjust it to your own tailored sort of needs.
But that's not it. If you go into the software on the computer, you can actually tailor other settings such as the cutoff lag. So if you like your crossfader to cut like a millimeter off the edge, you can do that by just using this little feature.
Yeah, so you can set the range where sound won't be the output of both sides of the crossfader. So you can kind of set it where it cuts through, basically.
And this just leads me into another topic, which is who this is for.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is mainly aimed at battle DJs because there's so many features which allow you to do scratch routines, but there's so many effects and options on it. No matter what genre you play, I think you'd be able to find some cool features that you could use in your sets with this.
It's also a great mixer for people who mix dance music, for example, with all the effects, and you want to have a mixer which you can also scratch with. So that's someone like me. I love scratching, right?
Yeah.
But I also like mixing music normally, and I want to have all of the versatility of having a mixer with a lot of effects.
Yeah.
And this has a lot of them.
Yeah, and it's got the touch effects, so you can literally touch the screen and add effects, a bit like the DJM-S9. So you've got options on there. And you've got the kind of standard beat effects and the software effects as well, accessible if you're using it with Serato, for example.
Such as when we go into the effects setting and then we go into, see, these are all mappable.
Yep.
You can map these to something else. So
Yep.
if we go here, okay, you see here our echo, we've actually mapped it to something called fader saw, and it makes the fader into a synthesizer.
Yeah. But you can also change the octave of that, so you can be changing these parameter buttons and kind of, and the filter works, so you can kind of create bass lines and all sorts of stuff, really. So yeah, musical possibilities are kind of endless, really, with it.
So they've also got something called smooth echo on this.
Yep.
And this is a very interesting effect. So if we turn that on, okay, you can see that when I use this and I scratch, right? Sounds normal.
Yeah.
Nothing happening. But if I move the crossfader over and cut it while the sound's going on, it will activate the echo.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like a post-fader echo, basically, you've got there.
But it is only a post-fader echo.
Yeah.
It doesn't work when the fader's open.
Yeah.
I wonder if it works on the up fader. Oh, up fader and crossfader. We've already established that this is basically quite a substantial upgrade to the S9.
Yep.
But what is your favorite feature?
I think it has to be the scratch bank feature, because basically it means you've got a separate area in Serato, which is your scratch bank, which is very similar to the sample players, but you can have loads of different audio files in there. You can select scratch bank on here by going shift and scratch bank, and then basically you can load a sample immediately and it will be on that deck. So you can quickly change what it is you're scratching with, and they don't have to have all been exported into one long audio stream with a DAW. You can just have 8 different files and quickly access them. So that's really useful. Definitely good for routines and things like that, where prior to that you might have had to physically create your own scratch tool out of the samples you were using.
Yeah, and of course, there's like a lot of songs out there that I like, and they've got like a nice little clean vocal cut in it. You could now use that as a scratch sample by just loading into a scratch bank instead of physically having to cut it out.
Yeah, because before I used to use the sample banks to keep samples in, but you'd still have to drag and drop them into a deck to use them, whereas now it's just touch of a button, you've got them loaded straight away.
All right, well, how much does this thing cost?
£1,809.
That is a lot of money, considering the fact that a DJM-900 Nexus 2 is about $1,900.
Yeah, it is a lot, but then when this came out, this was around 1,500. And I mean, obviously you do get a lot for your money. There's lots of different features in there that are kind of, I think, make it worth that.
Yeah, definitely, because you got this screen, and as we can see, it's really, really advanced what you get with this screen, because you can, for example, load all your tracks using the browse knobs. This also had a browse knob, but you had to go and look at that screen.
Yeah.
So you can load all your tracks directly from the mixer now. You can, and which is also a great thing, because everyone knows about Serato Face.
Yes,
right?
yeah, checking your emails.
Exactly, it looks like you're checking your emails while you're DJing.
Yeah. The MIDI capabilities here, you can go to touch MIDI, and then you've got loads of triggers for different functions on the decks. You've got all these different options, beat sync, sync off, key sync, all these kinds of things.
And this is, a lot of people might overlook this, right? And they're like, oh, why would I need that? But if you're someone that uses turntables, this gives you all the options that a CDJ would have.
Yeah.
So for example, if you wanted to use sync, for example, you can now use sync through the mixer, because there's obviously no sync button on the turntable.
Yeah.
Same with stuff like key lock.
The other really cool thing is the ability to control the decks 3 and 4 from here. So if you come all the way out and you've got these deck 3, deck 4 buttons, so I could be playing with 2 Serato tracks or 4 decks within my software, but I've only got 2 channels on my mixer, and this gives you the control to play, use the volume faders for those decks. You've got various options. You can see the overview of the waveform.
You can even use hot cues.
Yeah. So you can be doing a 4-deck mix even with only 2 channels, which is really cool.
You also need to realize that it's also really customizable.
Yeah.
This is a really, really specialist mix. It's a lot of money, but there's a lot that you can do. And you can really customize this to exactly how you DJ.
Yeah.
You can, as we were showing you with the MIDI and all that kind of stuff, everything's reassignable.
Yeah.
And also it's a really durable mixer. If the S9 is anything to go off, We've had this for 5 years.
Yeah.
Students using this every single day in this school.
Yeah.
Everything still works. All the switches still feel great. Faders feel fantastic.
Yeah.
The crossfader still feels fantastic. Literally the only thing that is worn on this is just a bit of the paint on the
and even that isn't that bad.
That's really not bad, man. I remember back in the day, like with Vestax mixers and stuff like that. You remember, you go to someone's house and they got their mixer there. You can always tell what hand they scratch with because the paint's completely worn on that side.
Yeah, I've done that on various mixers in the past. Yeah.
What are your final thoughts on this thing?
I mean, I really like it. I like the fact that you see your tracks when you're scrolling through on the screen. You've got the ability to do the pitch play thing, which is really cool. The scratch bank is something I would use all the time. You know,
Smooth
the pads,
echo.
smooth echo is cool. The pads being bigger as well, which is nicer for triggering cue points. You know, it's just, if you like the S9, you're going to love this, basically.
Yeah, it's basically an evolution of the S9, which already was an evolution of the Battle DJ mixer anyway. Because remember back in the day, you had dices.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, the Novation dices were the little triangle sort of controllers. So just when this came out, the fact that it had cue points on the mixer was really cool, because for Serato, it means you could trigger stuff from there rather than having to plug in additional controllers. So now the fact that the S11's got them and also bigger versions, it's even better, really.
Well, there you go. To me, the new king of the DJ battle mixer / crazy performance controller kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think if you're a DJ who likes to scratch, you're a DJ who does turntablism, but also likes to mix music and have all these effects at their disposal, seriously, can't go past this unit. And that's it from us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in yet again. If you want to go and find out more about our courses and maybe learn from Mr. Bristow himself with our DJ courses, check out pointblankmusicschool.com down below. And yeah, that's it from us. Thank you so much.